Looking back, it's hard to pinpoint when things started to unravel. Our life seemed ordinary, busy with work, managing the household, and raising 3 children. My wife and I had built a partnership over 2 decades, each of us balancing careers with family. Yet, beneath the surface, something subtle but unsettling had begun to emerge. Mira's job often required her to travel for training sessions and corporate meetings. I didn't question it at first. After all, her ambition had always been one of the things I admired most. But in recent months, her absence felt heavier. The occasional canceled family dinner or skipped weekend plan left an invisible dent in the routine. I couldn't quite name it at the time, but in hindsight, the cracks were already forming. Are you sensing something strange but can't quite figure out what or why? The real question is, do you even want to know the answer? My wife, my partner of 20 years, and the mother of our 3 kids, 2 still in high school, sent me a simple message at work. "When can you get home?" Curious, I asked, "What's going on?" Her reply, "We need to talk about something important." I should have left work right then, but I didn't. Soon my coworkers began noticing my distraction. Rebecca, one of my colleagues, finally snapped me back to reality. As the head of a dealership network, I had to keep things running smoothly. When I showed her the messages, she asked, "Do you think it's something with your marriage or the kids?" As far as I knew, I told her there wasn't anything out of the ordinary beyond typical family dynamics. Will turned to Rebecca and asked, "Have you noticed any subtle changes in Mira's behavior? Like, does she hang up or go quiet when he walks into the room while she's on the phone?" "I haven't noticed anything," I said, though I'd often heard husbands are the last to know. "Why is she at home?" Rebecca wondered aloud. "Shouldn't Mira be at work?" I texted my wife, "Where are you right now?" Her reply came quickly, "On my way home." Something didn't feel right, so I called her office. While waiting for the call to connect, I turned on the call recording feature. "May I speak with Mira Roberts?" I asked when someone picked up. The response? Mira Roberts, the regional manager, no longer worked at that location. She'd been reassigned to the corporate office and would start her new position the following week. She was on a week of paid leave to prepare for the transition. "When was her promotion announced?" I asked. "Over 6 months ago," came the reply. This didn't make sense. Why had she spent 4 weeks at headquarters for additional training if she was already working for the corporate office? And why hadn't she told the family about this promotion months ago? "Rebecca, let me ask you this," I said. "If your husband told you on a Friday night that he'd been promoted and transferred starting Monday, what would you think? Because that's what my wife is going to tell me." "Will," Rebecca said without hesitation. "I'd be wondering what else he's been hiding. He must have known about this for months." "Thanks," I replied. I thought so too. Now I was going home, prepared to take everything she said with a grain of salt. I bet she'd bury a bit of truth beneath layers of misdirection. Mira could sell insurance to elephants if she needed to make a buck, knowing it'd take them ages to figure out what was really going on. Rebecca's worried expression said it all. I was in a tough spot, unsure of what to expect. I only knew I was about to play the best poker game of my life, without a poker face. With those thoughts, I texted my wife, "I'm on my way." Mira and I met in high school during 10th grade. One day at lunch, a friend bet me I wouldn't kiss the first girl I saw. I did, earning a slap in the face and a trip to the principal's office. We avoided each other after that, running in different circles. She was a city girl. I was a local guy through and through. But everything changed during 11th grade prom week. I was helping my dad's business one night after one of his employees called in sick. My dad owned a few tow trucks, part of his car dealership. Someone had spun out at Thomas Farm, damaging their car so badly it couldn't drive. I arrived about 20 minutes later, hooked the car up, and prepared to tow it. That's when I noticed Mira, standing soaked in the rain, wearing a ruined prom dress. I handed her my raincoat. Even then, she was stunning. I asked the officer, "Can I drop her off at home before heading to the impound lot?" He agreed, saying they'd be tied up investigating for another hour. He called her parents to let them know we were on our way. Her parents were waiting at the door when we arrived. I helped her out and left, not realizing she still had my coat. We didn't exchange a word the whole drive. I never asked what was said when she got home, but the following Monday, Mira approached me during lunch with her tray. "Mind if I sit here?" she asked. Before anyone could respond, she sat next to me. "Move," she told Robbie. "I need to talk to William." Everyone stared as she leaned over and kissed my cheek. "Thanks for defending my reputation Friday night," she said. "You'll need to meet me after school so I can return your coat." "I have gym last period," I said. "If you don't want to wait, we can do it another day." David is history, she replied. If I miss the bus, you'll have to give me a ride. No problem, I said with a grin. I know where you live. She was waiting for me, just like her parents. When we arrived, her father thanked me for handling the situation with maturity. Then, he asked why I'd specifically requested the officer inform him when we left the scene of the accident. I explained about the misunderstanding earlier. He found it amusing, and Mira blushed. William Roberts, I've been wrong about you for over 2 years because of your insolence, Mira said. Now I feel like a fool. Is there any way I can make this right? Can I take you to the movies Friday night? You can even pick the film, I offered. From that moment, we were inseparable. My friends and I quickly realized she wasn't a snob. After high school, I started working for my father, learning the car business from the ground up. Mira got a job as a clerk at an insurance company and steadily climbed the ladder, taking every online course her management suggested. At last update, she was an assistant branch manager. Over the past year, Mira spent 1 week each month working at the corporate office. In the meantime, we had 3 daughters, and I thought life was good. My father let me run daily operations while he focused on growing the business. Over 20 years, we expanded to 8 Ford dealerships, and I now spent most of my time in the office. Mira was waiting when I got home. The clock on the dashboard read 11:20 a.m. As I stepped out of the car, I loosened my tie while heading to the door. Her calm expression suggested she expected me to accept whatever she had to say. If I'm staying home today, can I take off my suit to relax, or will this only take a few minutes? I asked. This will take some time, so you should change, Mira replied. After changing, I asked, okay, what happened? Mira handed me several pages of emails. They outlined correspondence between Sylvia Smith, one of her bosses, and an assistant going on maternity leave. The emails eventually led to an offer for Mira to fill the role temporarily. The tone of the emails felt like Sylvia was pushing Mira into accepting. After reading them, I set the papers down and went to get a beer. I agreed under pressure, Mira explained. I start Monday. I'll fly out Sunday and return Friday evenings. The corporation arranged a furnished apartment for me. It's cheaper monthly than weekly. I noticed the papers were gone. Mira, where are the emails? I wasn't done. She pulled them from her briefcase. Sorry, I thought you were. As she handed them back, her phone rang. She answered, saying it was her boss, Jake, and left the room. I went to my office, scanned the papers, and saved them to my laptop. While waiting for her, I thought through everything. She wasn't telling me the whole truth. When she returned, I asked, "Who called?" "It was Sylvia Smith," she said. That was a lie. Everything she'd told me so far was deliberate misdirection. I texted Rebecca about my findings. Mira just got a call from her boss, Sylvia Smith, at the corporate office in Annapolis, Maryland. Rebecca replied minutes later, sharing publicly available details about Sylvia and the corporation. She even messaged a cousin in the area to ask for insight. Mira still hadn't come back, so I looked in her briefcase. It was nearly empty except for her notebook, which listed an Annapolis address and phone number with no name. I quickly took a photo with my phone and put it back. Mira returned, saying, "There's been a change of plans. I have to leave early Sunday morning. Jake said Sylvia Smith wants to personally help me settle in." "It's all set, isn't it?" I said firmly. "Well, it's not like that," she replied. "Actually, it is. You're too calm for this to be sudden. If it really was last minute, you'd be panicking," I shot back. Her expression reminded me of the time Stan Johnston lied about an affair with Mira and claimed our second daughter wasn't mine. That scam unraveled. But the look on her face now was unsettlingly familiar. I grabbed my car keys. "Where are you going?" Mira finally asked, visibly concerned. "To pick up our daughters so they don't have to walk home," I replied as I left. It took 10 minutes to get to school. I stopped at the office to let them know I was picking up my daughters unexpectedly. They would announce it to the girls. Afterward, I checked our bank accounts. There were no suspicious transactions. To safeguard finances, I requested the bank refuse checks without my approval and limit cash withdrawals to our primary branch. My daughters were thrilled by the surprise. After loading them into the car, we went to Dairy Queen for ice cream and then to a nearby park for burgers and fries. During our time together, it became clear they knew nothing about their mother's upcoming trip. We were gone nearly half an hour. I called Mira, but her phone was busy. I wondered if I'd come home to another version of events. "Dad, what's wrong?" Diana, my eldest, asked. "Your mom called earlier to say she accepted a 3-month role at the corporate office and leaves Sunday," I explained. "She claims it just came up this week. But others say it's a permanent promotion, and she's been in the position for at least 6 months." My 3 daughters all had the same expression, utter shock. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" Dawn, my middle child, asked. "Did you have an affair? Did Mom find out?" Oh my gosh, I can't believe I just said that. No, I didn't have an affair, but thanks for asking, I replied. And no, there's no sign of divorce. Our finances are intact, but one thing I do know is that your mom has been lying. When we get home, remember that whatever she told me might not be entirely true. Could it be that the people you talked to were lying? Darcy asked. Listen to this and tell me what you think, I said, playing the recording of my conversation with the receptionist at my wife's office. Sometimes it's best to let others form their own opinions. After all, they'd all seen her leave for work. Dad, Dawn asked, what was she doing with all that free time this week? Your guess is as good as mine, I replied. I can dig into what's going on, but it'll take time, and I might need to hire professionals. For now, we need to decide how to handle this. No matter what, we can't stop her from leaving, Diana, the eldest, said. We don't have enough information to make any serious decisions. I hate it when you tell us to wait and see, Darcy said. It feels like you're trying to figure out if you even can, but you don't have the answers. Maybe Mom's the one having an affair, Dawn speculated. Or maybe something's bothering her, and she needs help. Just then, my phone rang. It was my wife. Where are you? She asked. At the park, I said. The kids are having burgers, fries, and ice cream. I figured since this was all unplanned, you'd need time to prepare without worrying about dinner. We're just figuring out as a family how to handle things while you're away. Why didn't you call to let me know? Mira said defensively. You're making it sound like I'm not coming back. You know that's not true, I replied, fighting the urge to yell. I wondered why she said that. Was it a lapse in judgment? The kids will tell you I tried calling twice, I continued. You were on the phone both times. I've already told them about your plans, and they're wondering too. You seem too calm about this. After ending the call, I messaged Rebecca, asking her to confirm the address and phone number I'd found in Mira's notebook. Within minutes, Rebecca replied. It was Sylvia Smith's home and personal number. That evening, it was heartbreaking watching my daughters try to get their mother to tell the truth. Mira kept repeating the same story. On Sunday morning, after we watched her plane take off, I felt a small sense of relief. She had no idea that my father and I had hired a private investigator to follow her. Later that day, my parents came by to check on us. It was tough for my girls to accept that their mom had been lying to us for over 6 months. No matter how much you reassure a child, they instinctively blame themselves. Even my mom had to leave the room at times to hide her emotions. On Monday, after dropping off the girls at school, I parked around the block and returned to speak with Karen Wilson, the girls' parenting consultant. I explained the situation and asked her to watch for signs they might be struggling emotionally. She reassured me she'd keep an eye on them and commended me for being proactive. At the office, I saw Rebecca's update on Sylvia Smith. Sylvia's father was the chairman of the board, and she had worked her way up in the company after starting as an actuary. Now she was the corporation's president, a role she'd held for 4 years. It was a grueling week, but somehow the kids and I managed. 2 women we occasionally hired came by to help with cleaning and laundry twice a week. Mira called the girls twice and me once. She came home Saturday morning and flew out again Sunday afternoon. Her total time at home was less than 24 hours due to flight schedules. After she left, the girls tried to make sense of it. They couldn't understand why she even came home. It was as if she was physically there but emotionally absent. She was their mother, but she wasn't. I couldn't disagree. I had tried hugging her only to be met with a cold, unfeeling response. Meanwhile, her family had been unusually quiet, which made me wonder what they'd been told. We had just gotten home when my phone rang. It was my father. "Hey, Dad," I said, cutting him off before he could speak. "We just saw Mira off. I was thinking of taking the girls out for pizza later. Want to join us?" "No, I just wanted to remind you about our lawyer's appointment tomorrow morning at 9 to discuss the car dealership I'm looking to buy," he said. "Hey, girls, Grandma and I are sending you our love." From the back seat, the girls happily chatted with him while I drove to our favorite pizzeria. My dad smoothly shifted the conversation, giving me a moment of gratitude for his support. Later that night, after the girls were asleep, I called him back. "We got the first report, Will," my father said. "It's not what we expected. It's worse. The affairs started long before her month-long training. We've got videos of them together in bars, dancing, holding hands, and showing physical affection. They were even caught going into an adult store and buying, well, items." I was shattered, but I needed answers. "What's the name, Dad? Who is it?" "It's not a man, Will. It's her boss, Sylvia Smith. They're living together as a couple," my father said. Mira took off her wedding ring as soon as she boarded the plane. For the first time in my life, I dropped my phone, speechless and emotionally wrecked. Diana picked it up and told her grandfather that I was broken. Somehow she got him to tell her the truth. The next few hours were spent crying together until we couldn't cry anymore. At 6 a.m., my parents arrived to find Diana and me still holding each other, asleep on the living room couch. They made coffee and woke us up. As I was still groggy and trying to pull myself together, Diana spoke. "Grandpa, am I old enough to go after these people legally? Can I sue their employer and both of them, together or separately?" she asked. Her words stunned all of us. None of us expected such a reaction. "Yes, I think so, but we'll need to confirm with a lawyer experienced in this area before I can give you a definite answer," her grandfather replied. "Where is this coming from?" he asked. "With Dad's permission, I've been taking law as an elective in school," Diana explained. "I'm going to legally dismantle Sylvia and Mom if I can. I've been tutoring for nearly 2 years, but I won't get my unrestricted driver's license until I'm 18. My goal is to become a lawyer." Her statement snapped me out of my daze. I went to the office, turned on the computer, and searched Facebook using Mira's name. 2 profiles came up. One I knew, the other I didn't. Her mistake was using the same photo on both. The second account had been created 8 months ago. When Dad saw it, he contacted the private investigators to report the discovery. Within an hour, the account was hacked, revealing pages of events, times, and places corroborated by Sylvia Smith's Facebook posts. Both profiles confirmed their unconventional relationship, with each declaring the other as a partner. Mira's second Facebook page made no mention of me or the kids. I didn't realize Diana was reading it with me until she whispered, "Mom's living a double life. The real question is, which one is real?" After brunch, my parents and I told Dawn and Darcy everything. I called the school to excuse the girls for the day. While I was handling logistics, Diana handed me the phone. "It's Karen Wilson," she said. "She's unsure how to approach this." "Stay with your sisters. I'll be right back," I said. In the office, I took the call. "Miss Wilson, how can I help you?" I asked. "I noticed the kids were absent today and wondered if it had anything to do with what we discussed," she said. "Yes," I admitted. "We found out last night that my wife has been in a relationship for at least 8 months. We were trying to understand why she even came home at all." "Is her partner older or younger?" Miss Wilson asked. "Do you have any thoughts on how I should approach this? With something this significant, it can be more challenging." I clarified, "My wife isn't with a man. It's her female boss." I'm sorry. That must be devastating for all of you," she said. "For a straight man, this must feel as painful as it was for my parents when my brother came out." By then, Diana had gone to bed. I relayed the conversation to my father, including Miss Wilson's warning. "If your wife hid this part of herself so well, it's likely that she has slandered you to family and friends." My father called the divorce lawyer and set up a 1 p.m. meeting that day. Meanwhile, the private investigators sent an email containing screenshots from 8 months' worth of Facebook posts. It was damning evidence of their relationship, dating back well before Mira's supposed training. At the lawyer's office, it was fascinating to see Diana using her knowledge of civil law to ask pointed questions, even surprising the attorney. The lawyer confirmed that all my daughters were of legal age to file claims for disruption of family ties against Sylvia Smith and the company, provided its HR guidelines had been violated. I texted Rebecca to help obtain a copy of those guidelines, and she responded that she had already secured them. She even sent additional details about Sylvia and Mira's relationship, which the lawyers began reviewing immediately. Between Facebook posts, messenger chats, emails, and my recorded conversations, we had solid proof. Mira and Sylvia had used their corporate positions to manipulate me and my daughters for at least 6 months. As a result, each of my daughters filed claims for the disruption of family ties against Mira, Sylvia, and the corporation. I filed for divorce on grounds of abandonment and adultery. Sylvia faced lawsuits for interfering in the marriage and destroying family ties. The corporation was named for failing to enforce its HR policies. Most significantly, the company's president, Sylvia Smith, couldn't claim ignorance of the situation. She was one of the defendants. We were all taken aback when Diana declared, "We need a court order to prevent Sylvia Smith and Mira Roberts from being fired until all the court cases are resolved. We don't want the corporation to scapegoat them to reduce liability." The divorce lawyers were stunned. It was a strategy they hadn't considered, but it made sense. We left the lawyer's office at 3 o'clock and decided to have an early dinner. As we sat down, Darcy, always sharp-witted, said, "We need new cell phone numbers. Keep the old ones active, but turned off until they're delivered. That way, if Mom tries to contact us, it'll go to voicemail. Everyone, turn off your phones now." Diana collected the phones and handed them to the waiter, asking him to give them to the hostess for safekeeping. "We'll pick them up when we leave," she said. "Dad, when you told me what Karen Wilson said this morning, it got me thinking. The lawyer said everything was carefully planned. For our own protection, we need to assume the same," she added. "Considering what's available on the dark web, all internet-connected devices in our home need to be turned off and unplugged until they're professionally scanned for malware." After dinner, we retrieved the phones, but I locked them in the trunk. On the way to Cricket Wireless, I decided to buy an extra phone to keep unused and unactivated. The next morning, before the girls went to school, I gave Diana the extra phone for Miss Wilson, asking her to explain why. On Tuesday morning, I went to the bank and canceled all joint credit cards, withdrawing all funds from joint accounts and effectively closing them. I deposited the money into 90-day certificates of deposit in both Mira's and my name, ensuring everything was traceable. The bank provided proof of my actions, which I copied and delivered to the lawyer. On Friday at 9 a.m. Maryland time, I sent Mira a recording of a conversation with her former colleague. Using my old phone, I texted, "This is the last time I say I love you." Then I factory reset all the old phones, ensuring all contact information was wiped, and left them at a local park. Mira was with Sylvia when she received the text. Both overheard the recording, and Mira said, "Damn, he knows about my real job." At 9:15 a.m. Maryland time, as instructed, a courier delivered an envelope to Mira at the corporate office while wearing a body camera. Inside was the divorce notice, citing adultery and abandonment, based on her Facebook page declaring a wifely relationship with Sylvia. It included 4 detailed pages of evidence, even listing the adult store they visited and their purchases. At 9 a.m. local time, I visited our cell provider to report the old phones as missing and scheduled the cancellation of their numbers for Monday. I paid the bill in full before leaving. Later, Rebecca and I reviewed everything to ensure no details were overlooked. "Will, sooner or later, they'll have to face you," Rebecca said. "Their legal problems are in this state. I doubt they realize your daughters are of legal age to have their own representation, and we're one of the few states where lawsuits for family bond disruption are still allowed. I've arranged for copies of their Facebook pages to be sent to Mira's parents, siblings, and close family today," I said. "Once they see the evidence, there will be no room for denial." "What do your daughters want out of this?" Rebecca asked. "Diana wants justice," I explained. "She can't stop thinking about the state I was in that night. She says no one deserves to be treated that way. Dawn and Darcy believe their mother deliberately abandoned all of us. They feel they need this confrontation to move on. Darcy put it best. If she did this out of love, what would she do to us if she hated us?" Rebecca absorbed my words, her expression heavy with understanding. As a mother, she empathized deeply. "Will, whether Mira realizes it or not, she's lost her daughters for good," Rebecca said. "There's no coming back from this. The emotional scars will never heal completely." "You're right," I admitted. "The worst conflicts I've seen weren't between men, but women. They're vengeful, and don't forget, a man might move on, but a woman doesn't let go." Rebecca gave me a knowing look. "You're wise sometimes," she said with a bittersweet smile. That Friday morning, Diana was called out of her first period class to Karen Wilson's office. Using a friend's laptop the night before, she had scanned documents related to her and her sister's lawsuits against Sun America Life Insurance, Mira Roberts, and Sylvia Smith. The scanned files included their Facebook posts, chats, and supporting evidence. She also shared a copy of the court order requiring Sun America Life Insurance to keep 2 employees in their current roles until all legal matters were resolved. After transferring the data to the flash drive, it was ready. "Are you sure about this?" Karen Wilson asked. "Once we go forward, there's no undoing it." "Everything on that drive is already part of the court records," Diana replied. "What makes this different is that society still sees us as minors. I've written and signed a 1-page letter explaining that, as a 12th grade law student, I found a state law allowing my sisters and me to take this step." Karen opened a new email address under a fake name and began drafting a message. Typing a few words brought up 26 news outlets. After uploading Diana's data, she entered the subject line, 3 underage children taking on corporate America. In the body, she wrote, "Attached are copies of the legal complaint filed by Diana, Dawn, and Darcy Roberts against Sun America Life, Sylvia Smith, President, and Mira Roberts, Regional Manager." After carefully reviewing everything, she hit send. Diana watched as Karen closed the email account. "When this reaches the media, it only takes one outlet to make it big news," Karen said. "The rest will snowball, depending on how it's handled." "That's the point," Diana replied. I want the woman who used to be my mother completely destroyed. Thanks, Karen. I'll head back to class. Karen had grown attached to Diana. She believed Diana would one day be a prominent attorney in her chosen field. However, she doubted Diana fully understood how this publicity might affect Sun America Life. Stock prices could drop, and policyholders might cancel their plans impulsively. The company's legal team, unfamiliar with divorce-related civil law, would be scrambling. Diana seemed intent on cornering them, and so far, she had executed her plan flawlessly. 2 hours later, it was the leading news story of the day. Local branches were overwhelmed with calls from people demanding to cancel their policies. Business talk shows began analyzing the lawsuit's implications for the company president. Stocks were already taking a hit. Reports surfaced that Sylvia Smith had been in a public same-sex relationship for years. Meanwhile, Mira kept trying to contact her husband, but her calls either went to voicemail or a busy signal. When she called his office, she was informed he'd been out all day. Corporate headquarters was in chaos. Both Sylvia and Mira had expected fallout from the divorce, but not like this. Mira had been so careful about keeping her personal and professional lives separate. Karen decided it was time to call me. 3 news crews had already arrived at the school. Thankfully, I picked up on the first ring. "Sorry to bother you, Will," Karen said, her tone serious. "We've got a situation that needs handling." "Are the girls okay?" I asked immediately. "They're fine," she reassured me. But Diana managed to expose a pending court case to the media. "It's escalating fast. There are already 3 news teams here, and more are expected." "Damn," I muttered. "Do you have any suggestions besides me coming to get them?" "Not really," Karen replied. "She's going to have to face this at some point anyway. I'll bring the girls to my office so the 4 of you can figure out a plan." "I'm on my way. Be ready. I might need to deliver the performance of my life," I said. When I pulled into the school parking lot, I headed toward the main entrance. As I approached, I heard someone in the crowd of reporters exclaim, "That's the father!" 10 minutes later, I walked out with my daughters. Diana strode directly to the reporters, and we stood together as a family. "I'll make one statement on behalf of my family until the court case is resolved," Diana announced. "We will not give interviews or answer questions during this time. Let me know when you're ready." Once the media signaled they were prepared, Diana began. "My family recently discovered that my father's wife and our mother, Mira Roberts, has been living a double life for at least 8 months. The question we asked ourselves was, which life was real and which was fake? Her inability to be honest with us about her personal and professional life forced us to hire a detective agency. They found that she has been living in Maryland with a woman named Sylvia Smith in what appears to be a marital relationship. Their public acknowledgement of their relationship is visible through recently discovered Facebook pages." Diana continued. "This raises several questions. Are they legally married? If so, then my mother is a bigamist. Since she never planned to tell us the truth, we have to conclude that in her eyes, we are not part of her real life. Sylvia Smith is not only her lover, but also her boss and the president of Sun America Life. Did my mother receive her promotion through unethical means? If that's the case, her integrity is non-existent. Was my mother a same-sex partner her entire life? Was my father just a cover so she could have children? Did she ever love him? Or us? Why can't she acknowledge us in her other life? Is she ashamed of us? My sisters and I have decided that the woman we once knew as Mira Roberts is gone. This new version of her is a stranger. The mess Mira Roberts and Sylvia Smith have created is now heading to court." We turned and walked back to my car. As we left, I felt an overwhelming mix of pride and shock. Diana had raised both moral and legal questions so effectively that Mira's defense was obliterated. During the 2-hour drive home, the car was silent as each of us reflected on what had just happened. Once home, I checked all our devices for any security issues, but found nothing. Meanwhile, Sylvia called Mira, urging her to turn on the TV. "Something major just aired. You need to see this." Mira stepped into her office, and Sylvia embraced her. "Remember, I love you," Sylvia said, before rewinding the broadcast. Once Mira was ready, Sylvia hit play. The footage showed me and my daughters leaving the school, followed by Diana's public statement. By the end, Mira's world had completely unraveled. No matter how hard Sylvia tried, she couldn't calm her down. We stopped at a small diner about an hour away for a meal. When I went to pay, the owner informed me that our bill had already been covered. Despite this, I insisted on paying. The owner introduced himself and said, "I just wanted to thank your family for what your daughter said today. She spoke to a society that needed to hear a different perspective. Maybe even my ex will reconsider her views after hearing it." Meanwhile, Sun America Life's lawyers were enraged. Mira's daughter had raised questions no one could easily answer. They knew morality varied from one person to another, but the real issue wasn't whether Mira had used unethical means to secure her promotion. It was proving that she hadn't. The most frustrating part was that a high school senior taking one law class a day had presented the case so effectively that it left the corporation boxed in. Even seasoned attorneys struggled to frame arguments as compellingly. They were desperate and humiliated, and it showed. At the school, the principal called an emergency meeting with the teachers at the end of the day, knowing the school would be empty soon since it was a Friday. The principal was proud. He played a recording of Diana's statement to the reporters for the staff. Karen Wilson was especially impressed. Diana had followed her advice, maintaining focus, determination, and strength throughout. The principal then addressed the group. Diana was mentioned at least 20 times today. She has already been offered 2 scholarships to study law, and multiple organizations have contacted us about sponsoring the school. I want to acknowledge Mr. Jim Spears for his exceptional teaching and Karen Wilson for her mentorship. Meanwhile, Mira had calmed down enough to try calling Diana. When the phone was answered, a voice she didn't recognize said, "Hey, it's 40 for a quarter, usual spot." Mira, startled, asked, "Who are you and why do you have my daughter's phone?" The caller immediately hung up. Frustrated, Mira logged into Facebook and tried to contact Diana through her profile, only to discover she had been unfriended and blocked. She checked her other daughter's profiles and found the same. It was safe to assume Will had taken similar steps. Desperate, Mira called her parents home. Her father answered the phone. "Hello, Father," Mira began. "Hello, Mira," her father replied. His tone was firm. "Let me be clear. We saw your daughter's public statement and the Facebook evidence Will shared. You told us your reasons for leaving him, but I have to agree with Diana. We don't know who you are anymore, Mira. To us, you're gone." He hung up, leaving Mira stunned and unconscious once again. Instead of returning home, I decided to take my daughters to their grandfather's house for the weekend. We bought enough clothes to last a few days, using the time to reconnect. I texted Karen Wilson to let her know we were safe. Sitting in my father's office later, I began reflecting on my marriage, analyzing it through a new lens. My mother came in quietly and said, "It wasn't all a lie. If it were, your daughters wouldn't be standing by your side." She continued, "It's natural to question everything, but remember, you had a good life with Mira until she became emotionally involved with Sylvia." "What does emotion have to do with this?" I asked. "Do you think their relationship started with emotion or desire?" She countered. "Initially, it might have been friendship, then desire. Spending so much time together at work can bring people closer. A bad decision while under the influence of alcohol could have started it. Guilt might have followed, but Sylvia could have used that to deepen her emotional hold over Mira. It starts with subtle gestures, a touch, a kind word. Are you saying Mira didn't intend for this to happen?" I asked, raising my voice. "Not at first," she admitted, "but eventually her actions were deliberate. I don't think she fully considered the cost of her decisions. If she had, she wouldn't have ended your marriage this way." "Mom, this was premeditated," I argued. "Mira and Sylvia fabricated a story hoping we'd fall for it. They wanted us to drift apart so that by the time someone served me divorce papers, Mira could keep their relationship a secret. Once the divorce was final and the girls accepted it, Sylvia would be introduced as a close friend." "How do you know this?" my mother asked, her tone serious. "Her brother called me this morning," I replied. "He received evidence of their relationship spanning 8 months. Mira told her family a week before she left me. She claimed that during a training session she discovered I was having an affair. According to her, we tried to work things out for 2 months, but it didn't work, and that's why she left." "Do your daughters know about this?" Mom asked. "We do now," 3 voices chimed in. Startled, we turned to see all 3 girls standing in the doorway. "Dad, she was setting you up to take the fall," Dawn said. "If she'd gotten away with it, we would have believed her," Darcy added. "She wanted to destroy our relationship with you." My mother turned pale. I rushed to her side, catching her before she fainted. Early Saturday morning, Dad and I headed to my house to check on things. Reporters were camped outside, waiting for us. We decided to drive past a nearby dealership we owned, only to find another group of reporters gathered there. "Good thing I shorted some Sun America stock on Thursday," Dad said. "We'll need the funds for a new house, unless we find a way to keep those reporters away." "Head to the dealership, Dad. I'll talk to them. Whatever I say will reach Mira and her partner," I said. "Let's give them something to think about." He parked, and I approached the reporters, ensuring the dealership name was visible behind me. "How are your daughters holding up?" an ABC reporter asked. "Like most kids, they initially blame themselves, but as they process everything, they begin to wonder if their mother's teachings were all lies," I said. "They look to me for answers I don't have. It's a hard thing to explain." "How did you find out?" someone asked. 2 weeks ago, my wife texted, "Come home. We need to talk." I asked where she was, and she said, "On my way." Something felt off, so I called her office. The conversation confirmed my suspicions. I replayed the call for them. "I thought she was just an assistant branch manager," I explained. She claimed she was under pressure to temporarily replace someone at headquarters, but none of that was true. I continued. "Last Friday, Mira's brother called me. Mira had told her family I was having an affair and that she'd returned home to try and save our marriage. She said it didn't work, so she was leaving me. Turns out, Mira and Sylvia planned to paint me as the villain. Mira was going to file for divorce, blaming my supposed lack of effort, and slowly introduce Sylvia as a close friend once our daughters accepted the separation. Their plan unraveled when we discovered their duplicate Facebook profiles." "Do you think they wanted to make you look uncooperative?" a reporter asked. "Absolutely. They seemed intent on ruining my relationship with my daughters and parents," I said firmly. "Why?" "I'm not sure. Maybe you can ask them. Did Sylvia want to introduce my daughters to her way of life? It certainly seems possible." With that, I walked back to Dad's car. He grinned, having overheard everything. "Will, your commission work paid off," he said. "You raised questions without accusing anyone directly. You looked like a father trying to protect his daughters." For the first time in days, I laughed. "There's no way any judge will let Mira or Sylvia see the girls without supervision." "True," Dad said. "But framing Sylvia as the aggressor adds pressure on her and the company. Suggesting an unconventional relationship was a smart move. It makes the corporation look complicit." We got home in time for brunch. Reporters were still camped outside, so Mom decided on a girls' shopping trip out of town. Dad planned to play golf, leaving me to spend time in the office. He offered his truck to avoid drawing attention. Just as I was leaving, Miss Wilson called to discuss the girls returning to school. She suggested lunch, and I agreed. It was a good excuse to step away from everything. I asked her to text her address. "I hope jeans are okay," I said. She laughed. "That works." At her door, Karen greeted me warmly. "I recorded your media statement this morning. It was brilliant." "Want to watch?" "Sure," I replied. She played the clip. It was brief but impactful. I looked composed, presenting limited knowledge without assigning blame. Karen laughed. "The way you framed it makes their behavior look calculated," she said. "And as far as anyone knows, you were in the dark until 2 weeks ago. Honestly, I just wanted to shift media focus off my family," I admitted. "I'm even using Dad's truck because reporters blocked our house last night. Now, any thoughts on dinner?" Karen suggested a quiet spot where we could talk privately. Over lunch, she updated me on what happened at school after I left with my daughters. I shared my thoughts, mentioning that I knew Diana was determined to continue studying law. Karen then asked how the girls were coping. "We've had our moments of raw grief," I said. "They were devastated to learn their mother falsely accused me of infidelity to justify ending our marriage." "That must be hard to process," Karen said. "It is," I admitted. "It's given me a glimpse into what public figures endure. Truth becomes secondary to perception. I don't know Mira and Sylvia's full intentions, but it's clear they aren't interested in being honest. I just have to keep pushing forward." After lunch, we took a long walk in the park before I drove Karen home. It was refreshing to talk to someone who listened without judgment and offered genuine support. Karen was becoming a good friend. When I returned to my father's house, the girls were excited from their shopping trip and greeted me with hugs. Darcy whispered, "Dad, I smell perfume. Who is she?" "Just a friend," I replied. Mom handed me a beer and pulled me aside, whispering, "You need to see the news. Things are heating up." The news channels were dissecting my statement to the media. By simply asking unanswerable questions, I had shifted the focus away from politics to the morality of Mira and Sylvia's actions. Commentators speculated on whether their attempts to expose the children to an unconventional lifestyle might be seen as corruption. The narrative cast Sylvia and Mira's behavior in a troubling light, sparking public debate. Meanwhile, Sylvia was distraught. Her father had called, informing her that the Sun America Life Board was holding an emergency meeting. Watching my statement on TV, she and Mira realized the damage it had caused. My questions, especially those about Sylvia's intentions for my daughters, were particularly devastating. "The only thing keeping my career afloat is that court order," Sylvia admitted. "If the board could fire me now, they would. William made it look like we orchestrated this from the start." Mira sighed. "This is my fault. I should have admitted I stopped loving him long before meeting you. Instead, I overcomplicated things, lied, and hurt everyone involved." "You and I both know that," Sylvia said. "But you lied to shield people from the truth, not to help them. I pursued you because I saw someone hiding their true self, Being with me helped you break free, but you underestimated the cost. I didn't plan any of this, Mira said. When we met at that bar and spent that night together, I finally felt free. I couldn't go back to pretending, but I didn't think it would lead to all of this. The consequences aren't fully known yet, Sylvia replied. William is hurt, understandably, and your daughters feel betrayed. They're questioning everything about themselves because of your choices. William must think he was just a tool you used for 20 years, and that thought has destroyed many people. I love him, but was never in love with him, Mira admitted. That's not how it looks, Sylvia said bluntly. Right now, anything you say will only make things worse. You lied to your family, blamed your husband, and now your daughters see you as the one who tore their family apart to be with me. I still want a relationship with my daughters, Mira said. William will always be part of their lives. That's the problem, Sylvia said. William isn't acting out of revenge. He's responding to the situation you created. You defamed him to protect yourself, and now your daughters see that. You've made reconciliation incredibly hard. Mira sat in silence, her thoughts swirling. Sylvia could see how deeply the situation had shaken her. Mira had always loved William, but as a brother, not a partner. For her, intimacy with him had been a physical act, devoid of the emotional depth he brought to it. She felt guilt for how she had treated him, but didn't know how to fix the damage. As they talked, Sylvia noticed a growing crowd of reporters outside. William and Diana had once again managed to capture media attention. I was surprised to find someone working at the real estate office on Sunday. Amy Bronson, an old schoolmate, recognized me immediately. I asked her for a comparison of homes similar to mine in the local market. Within minutes, she handed me a few pages, and I decided to list my house for $20,000 above the average price. Amy agreed to handle communication with my wife directly. While I signed the paperwork, she looked up the phone number for Sun America's headquarters. I handed her an envelope. This letter gives my wife permission to take what she wants from the house before it's sold. My daughters and I will remove our personal belongings by the end of the week. Whatever she doesn't want will stay with the house, I said. You have my contact information. I'm looking for a 4-bedroom house with a pool, a large lot, and privacy. William, is the house in your name alone, or do I need her approval to sell? Amy asked. It's solely in my name, I replied. Let her know the proceeds will be held in trust by my lawyer until the divorce is finalized. I'm avoiding anything that could give her grounds to sue me. I just want this to end. Mira's actions have caused enough damage. Thankfully, this is an equal property division state. Amy watched me leave, noting how much pain I was in. If Mira had always been attracted to women, she hid it well. If this was just an affair, why advertise it on Facebook? None of it made sense. And for me, it probably never would. The next morning, I was alone in my office early, sipping freshly brewed coffee, when the phone rang. Roberts Ford Motors. Good morning. How can I help you? I answered. I'd like to speak with William James Roberts, said a man's voice. You're speaking to him, I said. May I ask who's calling? This is Charles Anthony Smith, chairman of the board of directors at Sun America Life. I'd like to speak with you informally, he replied. About what? I asked. About keeping the situation my daughter and your wife created out of the media, he said. We didn't put it in the public domain, I explained. The news spread locally before my daughter or I got involved. We've just been trying to calm things down. Thankfully, it looks like the media has finally left our house. I was told this was orchestrated by our legal team, he said. Can you explain what happened on Friday? Karen Wilson, who was watching the girls for me, called around 11 a.m. to say there were news crews at the school disrupting classes. The school asked us to remove the girls to defuse the situation, I said. I didn't know Diana planned to make a statement, but she did. Afterward, the media left. Your daughter was composed, determined, and clearly angry. You should be proud, Smith said. Her questions, like yours, were unanswerable, but framed in a way that highlighted the implications of my daughter's and your wife's actions. I agree it's a mess, I admitted. And it's only part of the problem. Mira's lies to protect herself were premeditated. I've received signed statements from her family claiming she accused me of having an affair and said her last visit home was to try to save our marriage. You should know, I added. I also have 6 pages of emails exchanged between Mira and Sylvia, sent through corporate accounts, which fabricated pressure for Mira to take a temporary position at headquarters. I had no idea, Smith said. I'm heading into a board meeting now, but I understand why you and your daughter asked the questions you did. If I were in your position, I would too. By the way, was it you or your daughter who requested the injunction preventing us from firing them? Diana, my daughter, who's a 12th grader and taking law as an elective, I said proudly. Let her know I don't appreciate having my hands tied, Smith said with a laugh. She made our legal team look incompetent. Without that injunction, Sylvia and Mira would already be fired. Thank you for speaking with me. Now I can be forthright in the board meeting. As I hung up, I couldn't help but smile. When Rebecca walked in, I explained what had happened. You do realize he could have been lying to manipulate you, Rebecca warned. That's why I mentioned the letters between Sylvia and Mira, I replied. If he already knows about them, it confirms their intent to deceive me. If not, he'll have the evidence soon enough. Either way, he can't prove we involved the media. If we had, it would have come out already. Be careful, Rebecca cautioned. They'll look for any legal loophole to escape accountability. Amy Bronson had just gotten off the phone with Mira Roberts. The conversation was professional but tense. Amy noticed Mira was clearly shocked to hear the house was for sale. I'd appreciate it if you could come by after this weekend to take what you want, Amy explained. I need to know what will remain with the house after the sale. Mira was further surprised to learn that after the sale, the proceeds would be held in trust by lawyers until the divorce was finalized. How's William handling it? Mira asked. Amy avoided a direct answer but responded, My soon-to-be ex-husband and daughters were forced to leave because of everything happening on Main Street. She wanted Mira to understand the damage she had caused. Meanwhile, Sun America Life's board of directors met in a lengthy closed-door session. The stock price continued to plummet, and the head of legal had to explain every detail of the situation. The board concluded that Sylvia and Mira could not be fired or even reassigned due to the court order. Mediation was decided as the first step, except for matters involving Mira and William's divorce. A press release was also drafted to calm public opinion. For Mira and Sylvia, leaving their home was chaos. Breaking through the media crowd was a nightmare. A photo of Mira with a shocked expression circulated online with the caption, "The moment you get caught." The resulting article highlighted their situation, revealing that Mira's family had cut ties due to the damage her actions had caused. Sylvia tried to reassure her. It'll take time before we can start repairing things, she said. I received an advance copy of Sun America Life's statement. It acknowledged that the only reason Sylvia and Mira still held their positions was due to the court order. The company emphasized it did not condone any deliberate actions by adults that could harm minors and announced mediation efforts to resolve the case. I called my father, who promptly sold his shares in the company, which turned out to be the right move. Later, I picked up my daughters, relieved to see we were no longer making front-page headlines. We returned to our home to pack what we wanted to keep. Watching my daughters leave behind items their mother had given them was painful. We planned to stay with my parents until finding a new home, as living there again wasn't an option. By Friday, we were done packing, and Dad and I moved everything to storage on Saturday. Sylvia was furious with her father after learning the board planned to fire them once the legal matters were resolved. Mira and Sylvia began job hunting, but opportunities were scarce. While house hunting on Saturday with Amy, she informed me, Mira will be flying in next weekend to pack and arrange delivery for her belongings. That night, I shared the news with the girls. On Sunday, they went out with Diane while I attended a lunch meeting with Karen Wilson. During lunch, I learned from Sylvia's father that both women were coming on Friday. I was concerned that Diana might clash with her mother. Karen and I spent the afternoon at the mall, where we ran into Mira's parents, Jace and Janet. Over coffee, we shared updates and introduced Karen. Both families were devastated. I learned my daughters had asked Karen to look out for me, which moved both Jace and me to tears. They explained they'd kept their distance from the girls, fearing reminders of Mira's actions. On Thursday, Amy showed Karen and me a house that had just come on the market. It had 5 bedrooms, including 2 master suites, a pool, an outdoor kitchen, and a 3-car garage. I loved the open floor plan and made an offer on the spot. Late Friday night, Mira and Sylvia arrived by taxi at the old house, where my daughters had left them a pointed message. A pile of cut-up photos and sentimental items Mira had given them was left behind, delivering a clear statement. On Saturday night, Karen, the kids, and I were dining at Ruby Tuesdays when Mira and Sylvia walked in. Diana, unaware, passed their table on her way back from the restroom. Mira said something that made Diana run out in tears. Karen, noticing this, leaned over and gave me a long, affectionate kiss in full view. Later, we learned Mira had tried to reconnect with the family, but it was too soon. Mediation failed, and the case went to court. Sun America Life appealed the injunction, but lost. The court ruled that by admitting their liability publicly, the company had already accepted responsibility. The only question was the damages. When the dust settled, Sun America Life lost significantly. Each of my daughters was awarded $500,000 plus legal fees. I received $2 million, double what our lawyers had hoped for in mediation. The divorce was finalized, and Mira was awarded half our marital assets per state law, though she never appeared in court. Ironically, Sylvia and Mira bought our old house. They sued Sun America Life and won their case as well. As for me, I bought the house Karen and I had toured. The girls were thrilled, and Karen helped me with design choices and refinishing floors. The divorce was finalized, and the old house sold for full asking price with a quick closing. Sun America Life's trial was brief, with the judge criticizing the company for trying to reduce liability over employees' personal behavior. Our lawyers argued Sylvia Smith's position made her actions appear sanctioned by the company, which sealed the case. In the end, Karen and I take things day by day.